All right, it's Chris from 416 Coffee, and we're here with the second episode of Beans in Business, and I'm here with Reece Fisher from Instillment. And roughly speaking, I'm going to say Instillment is a creative media agency, and Reece has done a bunch of insane creative work, which we'll get into, and you've won a bunch of like short film awards and stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it, man.
No worries,
Looking forward
man.
to chatting with you.
No worries. I am too. Yeah. So Reece is super creative. He's going to talk to us about his process. And the reason why I wanted to have you on was because I think right now a lot of people would love to be in your position, running kind of a creative business, doing videography, photography, things like that. People are excited about that, and people are looking for ways to make their own money, right? So
Absolutely.
So I think so I think you're the perfect guest for the times.
Thanks,
so
brother. Appreciate that, man. Yeah. It's definitely been an interesting time, trying to stand out now that everyone's going digital, or at least everyone's putting an emphasis on going digital now. We're getting a lot of messages like, hey, can you do our photos? Like, what do we do? How do we set up a YouTube channel? This and that, right? So it's been kind of good because now we've become a little bit more important, I guess you could say, right? So, but the thing for us, though, that I was talking to you about earlier was that we've been kind of pivoting to see what is going to help us like survive this time, I guess you could say, right? Because it's all nice before. It was all nice beforehand. Just like, oh, we can do whatever we want, do creative stuff. We know like people are going to have videos, but now that, everyone's trying to save a little bit more money, sometimes photo and video can be the last thing they're thinking about, right? Because they're like, oh, we got to keep overhead. We got to pay our employees first, which is totally understandable. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So
take us back for a second to the beginning. Take us back to like, how'd you get into this stuff? How did this evolve? Yeah. Tell us some crazy stories on the way, and let's start way back.
Some crazy stories. All right. Well, should we do a little cheers here first?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Cheers, man.
Thank you to Jeremy from Peace and Cotton for the Woodford Reserve.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for our sweaters too.
I forgot he did your stuff too.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's nice, dude.
Smooth, eh? Yeah. He
Very
got the
smooth.
good one. He spent a lot of money on the expensive one. It was the double oaked.
Okay.
And it's 47%. So
Oh boy. So we're gonna be having some fun on this episode. Then,
probably be a little blurry by the end.
Yeah. Amazing. But yeah, like taking it back to the start. Well, like how far do you want me to go back? Because I can go back to like grade 8 when I was like a little nerdy kid doing like animation and stuff, or I could start like university.
No, take me back to grade 8. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, man, I started off on this program called Pivot Stick Figure, and it's this little animation thing. And, I started putting together stories and just like, oh man, like at the time I was like a huge fan of basketball. So I was, animating these little stick figures to like dunk on each other and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then YouTube was kind of just becoming big then. So this is like beginning of YouTube.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time, YouTube wasn't really seen as a big tool, or if you were posting stuff on YouTube, you're kind of like the nerdy guys that are like, oh, you're on YouTube kind of thing, right? Like that wasn't really a popular thing at the time. So I was just throwing stuff up on there to be like, oh, it's pretty cool, like sending it to my friends and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like thousands of views start rolling in, and I'm like, what the hell? Like people actually like this stuff. I'm getting like comments and everything, and I was like, okay, cool. So like being creative can actually like do something for you. That was my first like taste of like success, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
In that moment. So then, I started getting more into the like actually physical shooting with like a camera and all that stuff. And I like really loved it. And I was like, oh my God, there's so many different things you can do. Started shooting for student council, athletic council in high school. And I really fell in love with shooting sports once again, like because I played sports. I was like, okay, I had a little bit better of an eye to like follow motion and stuff like that. And then actually like midway through high school, there's this YouTube channel called HK Army, and they filmed paintball.
Okay.
Like, totally random. And basically I love their videos. Maybe I'll send you some examples or something. But they filmed the sports in such a way where the camera was moving and it was like super slow motion. It gave this like really cool effect, and I don't know, it just looked like awesome. Like I'm sure you've seen something like the NBA Phantom Cam, those like super slow-mo like shots of the players like going up. And I don't know, I just fell in love with that. And so like, if you see my work now, or, in the past couple of years of shooting sports, like I emulated that style because I really liked it. And so that's where like things really started to take off. And it's funny because I was doing it for fun in high school, but then all of a sudden, fast forward to university, me leaving Brock to go travel the world and actually shoot pro players, shoot the NBA pre-draft, shoot for MLSE, and, you know, shoot some amazing NHL players on the ice in that style. And I was like, wow, this just like went from 0 to 100.
Man, so you dropped out, you left Brock. How hard was making that decision? Like, what were you going through? Because I know there's a lot of people that are definitely watching that are like, they're in a program they hate. Yep. They're getting a degree because society, whoever, the voice in their head wants them to get a degree, and it's not necessarily going to get them a job or what they think it's going to get them. I think we're moving more and more away from that. So how did you decide to make the decision? Because that's a huge pivot in your life.
Absolutely. And, you know, having an Italian family, it's an even harder decision. I'm sure you understand, you know, there's kind of that pressure. Well, actually, I guess your dad would be a big support for you though, right? Because he's an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, my dad. So my mom is like super educated and is a genius, and my dad is a total fucking gunslinger cowboy in everything that he does. So amazing. Yeah, I grew up pulling from both sides, like having both examples.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I think for me, it just came down to seeing how other people, like throughout their lives, and especially like the older generation, like I started hanging out with a lot of older people and them just telling me like, man, no matter what you do, like sometimes you just can't control like what happens to you. So you might as well try something that you love to do, or, you know, try to work towards something. At least try it now while you're young and you don't really have any like responsibilities at the time. Right. And then that kind of got me thinking. And for those of you who actually knew me at Brock, you know I wasn't the greatest student. I mean, geez, I was there with you, right? I wasn't in class much, but I was shooting though. Like, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't just like leaving class and like going to get hammered, not all the time at least. But you know, like I'd be at the basketball game shooting and like trying to like work on my craft. And then it came to a point where like I was just editing like all week for like Brock Sports and like shooting basketball games and all these different things. And like class was getting in the way at that point, and it was taking me away from that creative mindset and that like growth mindset. And I was lucky enough to surround myself with a lot of mentors. Did the kickstarting program at Brock, the St. Catherine's Enterprise Center, all these different organizations that actually gave you the resources to be like, okay, like if you want to do this business, like do it. But it was always like stay in school first, graduate. But I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. I just want to take the like fast road, the direct route to actually learning. And like, I'm sure you can attest this as well. Like nothing will teach you better than going out there and just doing it and failing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you put yourself out there and then it's sink or swim, right? There's no cushion. There's no safety net. It's like, now you just got to do it.
Yeah. And like, I'll be the first one to say like, I failed, and I failed like hard. Like I'll this is going to sound terrible. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but I'd rather be raw. Like I've lost like half a wedding, all that footage. You can't redo that.
Man,
that's somebody's wedding.
What was the biggest failure that you had personally that has turned out to be like a massive turning point? So I know a lot of people have like a moment that at first feels like a massive failure, but then it turns out to be maybe something you really learned from or something that propelled you forward. Like, do you have an example like that? Do you have something that you can think of like that?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I don't know if I have like a massive one, but I've had a lot of like little ones that really like hit me. So for example, like losing that like wedding footage. If you look at my desk now, there's always 2 drives now. I back up everything right away. The day of the wedding, I'll back it up like right there at the actual wedding. Like it's just stuff like that really like stings, that makes sure that you never forget to like do that again.
What did you tell the client? Like how'd that conversation go?
It was not good, man. Obviously they weren't very happy, which is understandable, but I basically just said, listen, my this is what actually happened. My drive failed. So something like nudged it. And at the time I wasn't using solid state drives. So anything that like hits that from like spinning off is going to destroy the drive. And I heard the little like, as it was like spinning, and I'm like, that can't be it. And then I actually ended up spending like $1,200 to get it repaired, and they still couldn't get the footage. Yeah. So like, yeah, man, it hurt the soul. And then I basically just said, look guys, like I didn't back it up, like that was that. I apologize. I ended up making something for them with what I had. So I gave them like a 30-second like little promo. It was like very beautiful. Obviously it wasn't what they wanted, gave them their money back naturally, but tried to get something out of it at least. And then again, that was the turning point for me with wedding stuff, where it's like, okay, back up everything, back it up again. Make sure you throw it like, I don't know, just
Yeah. So like a
have
simple,
those safeties. Yeah.
yeah, like the technical stuff that you learn kind of from that massive shit show.
Yeah, absolutely. But then even like the conversation with the client too, like learning how to have those hard conversations, it really helps you. Like you were just telling me that, you know, you brought some more staff in for your business, right? And sometimes you have to have those hard conversations with people, and going through those actual conversations of learning maybe, you know, how to empathize or navigate that conversation so both parties end up a little bit happier, right? So for example, even like we just picked up a co-op student, Eden Vince. You're doing great if you're watching this. But midway through our little couple months that we've been working together, I had to have like a serious talk with her and be like, you know, are you really into this? But after that talk, just her work ethic, her work in general just like took off. But I feel like sometimes you need those little like pitfalls to actually propel you upwards, right? So.
Absolutely, yeah, the tough love, if you will. So, so you drop rock.
Yes.
You're shooting some sports. What happens next?
What happens next? Well, Mihai happens next. Mihai Raducanu happens next, and he basically said, "Hey, man, I'm about to travel the world for a couple of years. You want to come with me and film everything?" How do you say no to that?
That sounds like a pretty good gig.
You know,
yeah.
all of a sudden I'm in Florida for 2 months shooting the NBA pre-draft. I'm shooting online courses there. I'm flying over to Lithuania shooting pro camps over there, all basketball. And then when I came back, I have an email from Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and it's the Leafs, and they're like, "Hey, man, we're doing all these like summer camps throughout the summer. We want you there. We've seen your like work." So I started shooting with them as well, and then different other organizations like White Oaks, Scholars Canada, all these different brands start like seeing that kind of style. And you just roll with it, right? So
just carry on the momentum. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then when did Instillment technically form? When did you slap that label on everything?
That was actually first year university. So I was taking business at Brock, as we were in similar things, and then I was just like, fuck this shit. And but then I was taking the kickstarting program, and that's kind of what helped me get into the St. Catharines Enterprise Center. And they like started to show me the actual logistics, you know, register the business name, start doing like accounting, all that different stuff. And finding the name Instillment was definitely a hard process, because you know, that's the thing that you're growing with now.
Yeah.
So you better make it a good one kind of thing, right? And I don't know, man, I was just looking up words, because I did this one exercise at the Kickstarter program, and they were like, write down 30 words that you think like define your business, right? So like, oh, hardworking, creative, all this stuff. And then they're like, hey, so you have your 30 words, cross out 15, like cut it in half. So cross out 15. Okay, these are like pretty good. They're like, cut that in half. So down to 7, cut that in half. Now you're down to 3. I'm like, okay, these 3 words are my business. They're like, circle one word that you can come back to every time and be like, this is what our like goal is. This is what's going to remind you of like why you started this business. And the word ended up being inspire. So whatever work we do, I'm aiming to inspire somebody. And I don't mean inspire in the most classic way that you can think of, but inspire, you know, somebody to think differently, or inspire somebody to want to, you know, take a leap of faith to do something, anything like that. Right. And then the word instill is to add slowly, or, you know, you want to instill emotion in people. And I just like love that word. And I'm like, oh, like instillment, like the process of doing that, the process of inspiring people.
I like it, man.
And that's where that name came from. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
I've always liked the name. And I remember, I think when I remember seeing you posting something on social somewhere about, instilling emotion. And that's kind of sums up what you want to do with anything creative, right? Whether it's like written word, audio, video, photography, you're trying to make someone feel something or think something. So that's awesome, man.
Absolutely, man. And even like you doing all this new visual content and the podcast and everything, like in some form or another, like that's what you're trying to do with this, right? You're trying to get people to feel something about your brand and like what you're doing, right? So how did you guys come up with your name?
416 Coffee. So Carm started roasting coffee in the 90s in Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah, he actually operated under a variety of different names. But when we opened up 5 years ago, we went with 416 Coffee simply because our original plan of attack was to roast coffee and sell it to a lot of Toronto businesses, which was a horrible idea. Like, if you want to talk about what you just described about like how learning from actually doing the business, on paper it sounded like a great idea. It was a fucking shit idea. We were like, I would beat the pavement day and night. we would go and try to drop off samples and shit. We had like shitty bags. We were handwriting like this.
I'm pretty sure I knew you at this point, right? Because I remember you telling me this like as you.
Oh yeah. I started when I was 19, right? So yeah, I would have known you, and yeah, it was a shit show. Like it was just a fucking disaster. Like just constant rejection, which is why nothing can bother me now. Like absolutely nothing, because we just banged on doors and people were like, "Yeah, get out of my restaurant." And you're like, okay, yeah, see you later, man. Do you want to buy my beans? No. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Oh, sick. Yeah. So, and it was just like days. Like I'm talking like fucking days. Like you would drive up there and you would try to go like sell coffee in Toronto for the whole fucking day and sell nothing. And like it was rough. And then we slowly refined what we were doing and found our place in the market, right? I would say to anyone starting a business now, do market research, because I had no idea what the fuck I was getting myself into. At the same time, I'd say ignorance is bliss, because I'm sure you feel the same way. If you would have known how hard it is, there's a real possibility past you would have been like, fuck this. I'm going to go fucking work at fucking 7-Eleven and call it a day, which is, yeah.
I feel that, man, 100%. Like how important would you say, like going through that is though? Because like you just said, you were kind of like, nothing can bother you now, right?
Yeah. It's kind of the price of admission, right? I think if you're going to actually do something exceptional, there's always going to be something extremely challenging, and there's challenges every day. It's just about kind of moving through those. And the other thing is, I always take the perspective of when something's really challenging and really hard, this is when other people are quitting. So as you keep overcoming hurdles, you're moving into rarer air, if you will. And we still got like us here, we still have a long way to go, but we've come a long way, and we've overcome a lot of hurdles where other people would have quit. And now it's persistence is half the battle. There's creativity, there's building a good business and doing things right. And then there's just staying alive sometimes too. So
absolutely. Yeah. 100%, man. I think that's interesting too, because, as a, let's just say any writer in this creative thing, like no good story is without conflict.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
Man.
Who wants to watch a movie where everything goes right?
No, it doesn't happen.
Nobody gives a shit, and it doesn't happen because it's not real, right? So it's like the fact that we've had our difficulties and they're still going. Like that's the hero's journey.
100%, man. And video games without Dragons the Slayer are not fun to play, right? Like you need the hard shit to do.
100%, absolutely.
So yeah, I think people shy away from the hard shit, but I mean, I wouldn't say I seek it out all the time, but I'd say in business, like I don't know if you feel the same way. I'm very bad at being stagnant. I don't like sitting around. I don't like not trying to grow.
100%. How often do you find yourself like throwing ideas out there? Because like for me, at least, it's like every day I probably have like 2 ideas that I, text the guys, or we're all together and we're sitting and I'm like, oh my God, this is so sick. And then I get so fired up, and then, Ben will look at me and be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. But like, at least I'm like throwing it out there, right? Because I'm just like always trying to think of something else that might be able to help us, or something might be fun or can grow us, right? So
100%. Tell me actually a little bit about your creative process, because you've made some videos that like you made a video about Warner Road. You made that short for Road Mike that won an award for that, right?
Yeah, we won Best Action Short.
Yeah. How the fuck, like how? Like, cause I don't I don't think about video ideas. So I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't even know how you built like the Warner Road thing. I remember I was at the premiere for that.
Yeah.
I was very intoxicated, but it was a great film.
Oh, buddy, you're telling me, man. I was so stressed that day. It was just like,
yeah. But yeah, man, like, so walk everyone through a little bit of like your creative process.
Oh man, it kind of depends. That is really good, by the way, Jeremy. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It kind of depends on the project. So, I mean, I'll take you through Warner Road just because you were there, and it was kind of on a bigger scale of a project. But basically, it started out as a fake trailer we did 3 years before we actually did the big one. And we just did it for fun because we're like, oh, what would be cool to like do that Niagara people would relate to, Screaming Tunnel. And that like spans all the generations. Our generation knows it, our parents know, that kind of stuff. So we thought, okay, biggest market, it's something local. Let's see if we can do something fun. And we ended up posting it, got a couple thousand views just like from our friends and family. And, like for example, Morgan Hilliker, the main actress, like she has like a huge audience. So it was like great to have her like connected with the film. But we just had fun with it. Like we're just like, let's just go do this. We filmed it in a night, posted it. That was it, right? But then people were like, oh, when's the movie coming out? Because it was just a fake trailer. But they were like, when's it actually coming out? And we're like, no, we're not going to do it. And then myself and Jake Myuri, actually, we sat together, and I think this is like 2 years later at this point, and we're like, man, remember how fun that was? Like that was so good. Like, what if we actually did it? And then it was kind of like, we're just eating. What if we actually do it though? Well, let's see. Like, well, okay, well, we still have the cast here. Like, we still have the original cast. Maybe like change a couple people out. Like, okay, let's start thinking more details now. Like, what I've found, at least with every video, go through your resources first and make an idea with that.
Yeah.
So for Warner Road resources, what do we need? We need a school. We need the tunnel, which we have. Okay, what do we need those for? Okay, we need permits. We need extras to make the world feel like lived in kind of thing, right? So then we started going through all these things. The script gets written, and actually we didn't write any dialogue. No, we just had, here's the beginning of the scene, here's the end, here's like a couple prompts if we need it. But like the kids were so good, man. They're like, I directed a little bit, but I'll be honest with you, we had so much rehearsal and like prep time, and like they took it upon themselves to all hang out. So they actually like became friends, so it felt more like real. And then they were picking up on each other's like energy and stuff. So it was a really cool experience, man. Cause like I would basically just say, okay guys, let's just say we're doing tunnel number 1. Like that's the scene we're doing. Morgan walks in, just make sure by the end of the scene, you two are scared. You guys are going here, right? So there's all these different elements coming into it. I'm kind of bouncing around a lot right now. I apologize.
No, it's all good, man. We're just riding the wave. That's it. Let's go.
Yeah. So then all the boring stuff comes in, and I'm calling for permits, and basically I go to the school board, and they're like, we're not letting anyone film here. No one's ever filmed in a school before. There's too many legalities, all this stuff. So I go up to St. Paul principal, Lou Strangers at that point, and I'm like, you got to help us out here, man. Like St. Paul is going to be the perfect spot. You know us. Like, you can trust us. We actually want to get the permits. We actually want to rent the school. Can you put in a good word for us? Yeah, like I will. A week before we're filming, they finally email us. Okay, you guys are good. We were the first film to ever film at the Catholic School Board.
That's crazy.
School. Yeah, man. But we were just begging at that point, man. Like, I'm showing up at like offices like unannounced. I'm like, hey, can I talk to this person? Because they won't email me back, and I'm just like trying to like catch them off guard. Like, hey, I have this like movie idea.
Yeah.
Right. But like we kind of sold it as like, hey, man, this never really happens around here. Give these kids an opportunity to shine.
Yeah.
This is a full production. We rented like the Red Scarlet. Like that's a legit production like camera. We wanted to do everything, right?
How much is retail on a camera like that?
A lot. We rented it though. We didn't buy it.
How much are those things though?
Okay, so like the body alone, like the brain it's called, is basically like $40,000.
Yeah, I remember.
That's like without anything else. Like that's no battery, which is like another $3, and then the card, which is another $4. It's like, holy shit, man.
I remember first like being introduced to photography and videography and learning about kind of that end of it, being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking crazy shit.
It's nuts.
So that's what you shot that on. Okay.
Huge mistake. So here's another learning experience for you. Massive mistake. And like, this is just basically after we finished the film, we went back and we're like, what went wrong other than everything? You know what I mean? And like, so first off, why did we shoot on that camera? Most of the scenes were in the dark. The Red's not made for that. It's supposed to be like perfectly lit, all this like amazing dynamic
Hollywood
range. Yeah,
shooting.
Yeah, like we should have used the Sonys that we had. We could shoot at like 10,000 ISO, no problem, and then there's gonna be like no grain or whatever. And we're like, nah, let's shoot on the Red and spend our fucking entire budget on this fucking camera. Look, we're shooting with the Red. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? It's just like idiots, but it was cool. Now, hey, I shot a movie on a Red. I'm cool in that. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it was the cool experience of like we did everything like kind of by the book. In some sort, we actually rented the school. We got permits. We got a permit for the actual tunnel. Like we went to the city. We went through all that, right?
Really?
So yeah,
shit.
Yeah, man. So that's like a big scale project. Something like Orders, which is the like action film, was basically like it started off with, okay, here's the criteria for the actual competition. What resources do we have? We had access to that cool warehouse, right? So that was like the location of the thing, and we're like, okay, why don't we just keep the whole thing there, one location? I kind of like I wrote that script like years before I even did it, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. I basically shrunk it to make sure it was like under 3 minutes, and I just thought it was like a little fun. Oh, it's like these guys are going in, getting shot at and stuff, and then all of a sudden like their mom is calling them for dinner, and she comes in the game and kills them, so they finally go for dinner, kind of thing, right? And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
That like my ideas usually start with one moment like that.
Okay.
Of like something will inspire something, and I'll be like, oh, that moment would be really cool. Now let's build something around it. So like, here's like the punchline kind of thing. And then we'll build like a narrative around that kind of thing. So that's kind of what it comes down to.
So do you tend to start with the end in mind then? Like when you're creating the video, you said you have the punchline, or when you're creating like some of these creative projects, do you start with like, this is going to be the thing that I want over here? Like this is the climax or the end, and then you build around that?
I mean, honestly, when I actually look back on projects, yeah, kind of. Or, you know, whatever the message is, like if it's a commercial work video or something like that, right? I mean, you took marketing and stuff. You understand there's always got to be like a call to action, know your audience. Like, what are you asking them to do, right? So, for example, orders. What are we asking the audience to do by the end of that? Stay engaged through the fight scenes and laugh at the end and be like, oh my God, that's a funny little reveal kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
So I think when you can start with something like that, then you can build everything else around it. But the biggest thing that I've learned for anybody making videos and stuff, start with your resources. It's okay to dream big when you have money, and then you can go do all that shit. But when you don't, and you're like us, a little bit smaller, and you don't have thousands of dollars to blow on a Red camera, you know, start with your resource. Okay, what do we have camera-wise? We have a Sony. Okay, cool. Here's our range. This is what we can do with it. What else for locations? Okay, we know we have St. Paul. We know we have this warehouse. Okay, warehouse would be better suited for this. Who are our actors? Who's physically capable of doing this stuff? Well, Krista's our good friend. I know she's a good actor. Her and I have good chemistry already. We don't need to practice that. You know what I mean? We rehearsed a couple times and at her gym. Boom, we had that right away. She looked the part. She was like physically fit. It was believable. I'm not so much, but I was wearing a lot of gear, so it looked fine. You know what I mean? So, and then boom, okay, now we have props. Great. My dad plays airsoft. He's got 12 rifles. We'll use those airsoft guns as props. Boom, there's our prop list, right? So
done. Yeah, so that's how you can get away with a budget. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like to start with what you have to work with first, and then build a video around what can I do with these resources. Yeah. Which I believe is like somewhere there's a definition for creativity, and it is about limited resources. That's a huge part of it. So that's awesome. Okay, so I think that's gonna help a lot of people.
I hope so. Yeah. But
so
I think like in any creative situation though, having limits is what forces. Like I'm pretty sure, like you were just saying, like that defines creativity. Because if it was all easy and you had everything, like you're not being creative. You're just following the book.
Yeah.
Okay, like being creative is saying, okay, this is what we have. How can we work something new out of this? How can we achieve our goal? How can we make it look fucking sick and have people attracted to that, right?
With this limited set of resources. So how do you find like some of that creative work is translated into the work you did now? So we were talking a little bit off. Obviously, if you're watching this later, we're in the middle of like the COVID-19 craziness. Yeah. So how is your creative kind of mind helped you navigate this time when you we all every entrepreneur, especially small businesses, like we're just cockroaches right now, just trying to survive, right?
Yeah, man. I think it's been very interesting. That's a great question. And I'd like to ask it back to you as well, because I want to hear what you have to say. But for myself personally, I've been lucky enough that I actually live with the guys that are on my team, so that there's always some positive energy. So, you know, if somebody gets down or, you know, we're getting frustrated by something, there's always another person or somebody to bounce that stuff off of. So I'm thankful for you guys. You guys are the best. But I just think it's been about realizing kind of what's at stake, and nothing lasts forever. So, you know, we're not completely rehauling our business model. It's just understanding that right now we have to focus on things that are going to pay the bills, right? And so we've been taking a huge pivot to focus on real estate and weddings, which you can still be very creative with, but like, I don't know if I should be saying this, but with being very blunt, like those industries are still going. Those industries have the money that will be able to help us survive.
Exactly.
However, we're approaching them in a creative way, you know, and I think our styles are pretty interesting at Instillment. I feel like we focus on the emotion side of it. So, you know, some people will go shoot a wedding and they'll shoot all the little details and stuff like that. And unless a bride is like, I want you to shoot the details, I don't give a shit about what flowers on the middle of the table. You know what I mean? Like I want to see them having fun. Like this day is to capture you.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll like shoot a couple of those things.
Of course. Yeah.
But like my focus for that kind of stuff is like, I want to see smiles. I want to see laughing, because when you see somebody laugh and smile, you mimic that. So
exactly.
when you show that in a video, that like people are feeling that emotion. Again, it just goes back to Instillment and inspiring and all that emotion, right? So like weddings, that's like a great thing to do. Real estate is a little more interesting because you're just filming a house, a location. But there's things you can do that, you know, will make people kind of get attached to it with the music, the visuals, like how you portray the house, right? So there's all these different things where you can still be creative, but you know, it's not like doing orders anymore.
Yeah.
We can't afford to spend $500 on doing that creative film that, you know, will get us a couple hundred views and it'll be like really fun for everybody and it's a learning experience. But right now it's about just like hitting the ground and grinding out. It's being in Toronto, going to knock on doors kind of thing. You
That's
know what
it.
I mean? Like that's, we're kind of back to like square one doing that stuff. But
yeah, you got bills to pay and shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's been an interesting time, but I've also realized as well with shooting videos is that like, this is going to sound pretty pessimistic, you know, in a sense, but I am also being real with it. And like people just scroll, man. You post a video, it's getting 50 views, on to the next video, on to the next photo, on to the next whatever, right? So before I used to get so attached to my work and be like, why isn't this doing well? It's so cool. And like, you know, the 4 people that are following your stuff are like, yeah, man, that was like really good. On to the next one though, right? And it's like,
man, the one thing I've realized, just to touch on that for a minute, is you don't decide what's good. Like I've made videos that I've invested substantially more time in that have done shit. And then I've made videos that I thought were like mediocre at best. I've slapped them together, right? Yeah. I've like been on a timeline, I got shit to do. I know, hey, here's this coffee, blah, blah, blah. I do this video and like the information is good, but I slap it together. It's quick. There's no like cinematic like effects. There's nothing
that's
nice.
The one that blows up.
And it fucking does the best. And you're like, that video took me like half an hour to shoot and 20 minutes to edit. And then I spent like 4 hours shooting this one thing and all this time, and that one doesn't do good. So I've just, I mean, and I think like you get a bit better over time about learning what works and what doesn't. But at the same time, it's still just such a crapshoot sometimes. Like it's like
100%, man. Because you never know what's going to click.
Exactly.
You know, some things are going to do really well, like you just said. And the ones that you put a ton of effort in, you start to question, like, why am I doing this much effort for something that A, people aren't going to notice, and B, it's just going to be scrolled past anyway. So that's when you kind of have to start being efficient with your time and energy, right? That quote where it's like 20% of your work, 80% of your results.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. I like that is what I'm like living by now.
Pareto's principle.
Like,
yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, I can go do this commercial shoot, which is going to take us 4 days, and you know the budget's not going to be there, and there's going to be 100 revisions, and it's going to be all this shit that we have to deal with. Or I can go shoot at a house for an hour, edit for an hour, and it's the same price.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what the you know what I mean? It might not be the same like creative stuff, but now I'm more so looking at it like I'll do the creative stuff when I want to do them on my own terms. I'll still be creative for other people. Like pick my brain. You tell me what you want. I'll do my best to make it unique and whatnot. But it's been a cool like self-reflection process of like, okay, like this isn't the same time as it was. It's time to get real. It's time to do what you have to do. And then when you want to be creative, go do that for yourself.
No, exactly. Right? Yeah. Or like whoever has the right budget for it, right?
Yeah,
like if you're doing commercial work, like the money's got to be right.
Absolutely. And they also have to be you have to have a good working relationship, right? I'm sure you've had maybe vendors that you work with or clients that you work with that you're just sometimes like, okay, this is not going to work out for many reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, this is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? Especially with your work. Cause it's like, people, because then someone will like try to manipulate what you're thinking of doing. And then when the video doesn't do well, they're like, oh, what the fuck, Reece? It's like, well, I just did what you said you wanted done. Like I told you it was going to be shit. Yeah.
It's right here. You told me you want to do all these things and then here it is. And now you don't like it. It's like,
here's my email saying this is going to look like shit. And then here's you telling me, no, this is what we need to do. And now you're mad about it. Yeah. No, I totally understand.
How do you have those conversations? Like, have you been through that? I'm sure you have, right?
When I was running, like, doing some marketing stuff, absolutely, like all the time. People would come in, we'd do a meeting, and they'd be like, hey, I don't know anything about Facebook, Instagram. Like, you're the guy now. All right, sick.
Yeah.
Second meeting, they're experts. I'm like, okay, so we got to do this, this, and this. Now, all of a sudden, these guys are I'm talking to Mark Zuckerberg. I didn't even know. I'm like, this guy knows everything. He knows the algorithm. He knows what he's doing. I'm like, okay. So, a lot of times, I mean, in that industry, I would sometimes fire those clients, or I would just do whatever. I would just kind of do what I was going to do anyways. And then it would work out and we'd move on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. It's kind of just like get through the project and like crush it out.
That's it. Yeah. But it's not in coffee. We haven't really had to do that. I mean, luckily now we're at a point where the brand is strong enough that we can be especially commercial clients, we're very selective. We don't really take on any.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff.
So it's like, if this is what we do and this is kind of what it's going to cost. And if you don't have those things, then we Godspeed, but we're not for you. Right.
Yeah. Which is totally fine too, right? Like you're not going to get everybody.
No, exactly. And the thing is with coffee, you really, with us right now, we don't want everyone, especially commercial wise, just because if they start advertising, okay, we have 416 coffee, and then you go there and you have a horrible experience. You have like a shit cup of coffee and the quality's awful and the staff isn't trained right. And then it's like, that's a negative halo on the brand.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather have people come to our own branded locations, have a proper experience with the brand, and then they tell everyone like, oh, this was a great experience. Like, this is good coffee, whatever it is. And yeah, so we're just trying to really control brand experience now and what people get when they work with us.
See, I think that's very important, man. What you just said, the brand experience, which I feel like a lot of people, when they're starting out doing any kind of vision, they miss it. I know I did. I'm like, I'll shoot everything, weddings, commercial work, this and that, whatever. The amount of like times that I've been on certain sets doing certain things, being like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, like it's money and it's cool opportunity, but like, is it though? Right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, like when you're younger or just starting out or whatever it is, like you get caught up in that, like, I'll just do everything right now, get the experience and or whatever it is. And going kind of back on my own point, it is good because you learn a lot. But like, I wish I could have just fast forward to just being like, hey, I know what I'm good at. I know what I like doing. I know who's going to work well with me. Right. So the brand experience though, like everyone's going to have a more positive brand experience with you when you're working with your right audience or whatever it is. Right. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think you have to be super focused as a brand in general. So yeah, with your stuff, it's like, this is kind of the work we're going to do. And that's it. There's non-negotiable. But obviously when you're starting and you're super broke, I get it. Like you got to, you got to do what you got to do. Absolutely. You got to get off the ground.
100%. I feel like too, I mean, with coffee, it's a physical product, right? So you're buying that, like, okay, I'm buying this because it tastes like this and it does this for me kind of thing, right? But people don't look at photography and video that way. They're like, oh, why don't you just shoot it like that though? I'm like, it's still a product. Like, this is how I shoot and this is how I work. That's what you're buying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people just think like, oh, you have a camera, shoot it like this because I want it like that. It's like, I could, but I'm better at shooting it like this because this is my product that I'm trying to sell you.
Exactly. Right? And this is how it's going to, and I guess it depends on, for different people, there's like different goals. Like obviously if you're shooting commercials, like the metric, the overall metric that matters is like, did this video help sell X, Y, or Z, right?
Thank you. That's the point. They get so caught up in the details. Hi, can you move this over like 4 frames? I'm like, I'll tell you what, those 4 frames aren't going to decide whether this guy clicks buy or not.
Exactly.
It just doesn't matter. I'm sorry. That's not like.
No, it doesn't at all.
And like you were saying, or like I was saying, I guess, it's like how fast people are scrolling. No one takes the time to look into that stuff.
Random question that might offer some insight. When you sell marketing materials to businesses, what do you do as far, like, do you just sell them the video? Like I'm a real estate agent. I buy this video off you and then it's like, I get this sick video file and that's it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever thought about either finding someone you could work with or blending in like copyright and Facebook ad strategy? Just because I think you could have a sick video and your work's insane. Like I see the stuff you post all the time. It's always like,
thank you.
It's fucking ridiculous. As someone who owns like a gimbal and a drone and has no idea what the fuck they're doing, your shit's fantastic. So,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So it's always sick, but I just wonder, like, I wonder if these other people on the other end are using this piece of creative properly. Cause like, if you do something like that with the proper copyright and then someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing with Facebook ads, even a little bit, it's going to destroy. Like you're going to crush. So yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because I've thought of that, but then my brain always goes back to like, okay, then we have to like find somebody and then they have to have the budget to do that.
Yeah.
And the tough part for me at least is convincing them to invest in that like distribution aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because they're just like, oh no, it's just a video. Like it'll do fine. But like you were saying, it's like, no, like,
well, it could do. Yeah. It depends on the goal. I mean, yeah, I tried to sell Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising to people for a long time, and the amount of people that like were non-believers, but now it's great. Now it's hilarious because people always come up to me at the shop and they're like, oh, who does your social? It's like me.
I do.
Yeah. And I've been trying to sell you guys this shit for fucking years. And now you're like, oh, this really works. You guys seem to be really popular. Yeah, no shit, it works. I've been fucking telling everyone it fucking works. Like no one was listening. I've told you all this would fucking work.
Yeah.
So, but now it's like, oh, can you come do that for me? No, no, I'm not doing shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's, no. So that anyways, that was just my sidebar there.
No, absolutely great advice. Like I would love to do that.
It's just finding a way that would work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or finding,
because like you just said, right? It's like people don't
No.
see it or know about
It's
it.
crazy. It's
So,
crazy that it's still like, so we just went through like the presidential election, and we're not going to talk about that, but because we're not opening that can of worms, but
no, absolutely not.
people talked about social media influencing a presidential election, but then people tell me that the social media, so social media can make you vote one way or the other, but social media can't sell more of your fucking tacos. That's like the argument. Like you're telling me social media can change the outcome of a presidential election, but it can't help people go and buy your burritos. Okay. Like that was those were the conversations I had where you wanted to smash your head through a brick wall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the amount of detail that Facebook ads have, like I by no means did I do anything great with it, but I just looked at it. I looked at the behind the scenes and just like dove in. And honestly, I stopped halfway because I'm like, I don't even know. I would be wasting money because there's just so many specific things. Yeah, but I'm just like, that's amazing though. Like the power you have. Like you can literally target an individual person based on the stuff that they like, and it's all right in front of you because they like certain things and they share certain things, and it gives you all that information. It's like, holy shit.
100%, man. Yeah, anyone who's not using social media advertising in 2020, especially small business, because you can set any budget, is crazy. Like it's crazy. And don't tell me it doesn't work for your industry. It works. Whatever you sell, it works because people are on there, people are spending time, and if you can make the creative's the variable though. Like what you do is the variable to success. Because like if you just post a shit picture, obviously it doesn't matter how much ad you throw at it, it's not going to work.
Absolutely, 100%.
But if you can have good creative and run ads against it, like you're going to destroy.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you marry those two, it's like, take care.
It's game over. Yeah. It's the math and the art.
Yeah. Fuck. Definitely not the math. I'll tell you that for free. Yeah, we should work together sometime.
That's it.
That's right. You got the math. I'll try my best at the art, and we'll go from there. But
man, so how did you and Ben end up working together? So for everyone that's listening, Ben, I'm sorry if I had another mic, I would have invited you too. I apologize. we did a podcast, the three of us, but I only had one mic, so I was like, I feel like sharing a mic would have been weird.
No, it's not good. Don't do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So I was like, next time, Ben. Once the budget allows for mic number 3, we'll do it. We'll do part 2.
Amazing. So how do we start working together? Well, actually, both the guys I work with, Ben and Dan, right now, we all started off as rivals. So we were all just making videos against each other. So Ben and I went to St. Paul together, and he's a year younger than me, and he was doing videos for like tech and like the actual school, and I was doing more like student council and athletic council. And we'd be like, literally, like I would release a video, and then tech team would release a video and it'd be like better than mine, so I'm like fuck, and then like I had to release a better video, and but it was good because like we were unintentionally helping each other get better. And then Dan was at Brock, he was at Brock TV, and I was just doing like Instillment on my own, and we would go head to head releasing videos. But it was kind of like that mutual respect of like, you're really good at what you do, kind of thing, you know what I mean? And we'd like see each other at different places, like, hey Dan, how's it going, man? Like your last basketball video was sick, but mine was better. No, but like, you know what I mean? So it'd be that kind of thing. And then coming into last year, like Instillment was just ultra busy, and I was just kind of getting bogged down, and there was all these like things that I wanted to do, had the like grow thing. This is like pre-COVID, right? So I'm like, you know, I'm like gearing up for like 2020, like it's gonna be a massive year. It's still been a good year, but obviously not
different,
not the same.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I'm going to bring these guys on. I think they're great. And basically with Ben and I shot a music video together.
For who?
Avenue Inn.
Okay,
so
Jake the boys.
Was our, Jake was our mutual contact there, and you know, we shot this music video together. And it was weird because I'm like, what the fuck? Why are we both shooting? Like that's just, you know what I mean? So, but then we came on set together, and like we worked really well together. Weirdly enough, like I don't know what it was, but like the chemistry was good, and then we all go out after, right, having a couple drinks and stuff, and Ben and I just start chatting. Oh man, like great job today, this and that. Yeah. And then we start talking. Oh, you like this too? Awesome. Like we have all these like similarities and stuff. And then it was in August. So our birthday was like, oh fuck, I just ruined the story. But basically my birthday was a couple weeks. I'm like, oh dude, like come out to my birthday. He's like, oh dude, come out to mine. Mine's in a couple weeks. I'm like, oh, when is it? August 18th. I'm like, same. Like we have the exact same birthday.
That's crazy.
I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? So then we started hanging out a little bit more. And then I ended up getting this gig in Florida. I was shooting this online course with this guy, 1,039 videos.
1,039 videos.
Yeah, of like clips. Like he was building this massive course for like 4 different levels of like basketball players, like beginner, intermediate, Pro, and then like
shit.
yeah. So, dude, I was just like, we shot for like 10 days. I like shot by myself down there like in a row, just like crushed these, man. Like it was so organized, like amazing. But then I come back and I'm like, I have to edit all of these.
Yeah, I was gonna say post-production. I had like a pang of anxiety just listening to you talk about 10,000 or 1,039 videos.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So basically, exact same thing that you're feeling. I was feeling that. I'm like, I need help. And at this point, I didn't really know Dan. So like, I call Ben, and like, I remember this conversation because I'm like, what are you doing the month of December?
The whole month. Yeah. With the whole damn thing. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, oh, what do you like? What's up, man? I'm like, I have 1,039 videos, but I need somebody to help me edit them. He's like, I'm in. Like, no questions. Just like, didn't even ask what the project was.
Yeah. Am I getting paid? Nothing. Just done.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Exactly. Which I was like, wow. Like, that's like some serious like initiative and like trust, and like obviously like paid him and stuff.
Of course. Yeah. No, I figured. Yeah.
But so yeah, man. And then we literally just like hung out for a month straight and just like edited these videos. And that's kind of when we became like really good buddies there. Found out we work well together even more. So that was that. Dan came in during Warren Road, and I basically asked him like, hey man, do you want to shoot the behind the scenes? Like, I want to work together. And again, it happens to be over drinks that Dan and I become really good friends. Because
man.
I know, man, it sucks to say, but whatever, it is what it is, right? So
no, it's always, I feel like that's always like a connection when you're breaking bread or drinking or hanging out with people. That's always when it melds together.
Yeah,
right?
I just feel like some people are judgmental about that, but fuck it, I don't care. It breaks down your like barriers a little bit.
This audience is not judgmental.
Yeah,
you're fine.
okay, brilliant, awesome. So like you've been to Isaac's, I'm sure, a couple times.
A few times. I know my way around.
Yeah. So Dan and I are there separately, and then, we bump into each other, and we're like, oh, man, your work's so good. Oh, your work's so good, like going at it. And then I'm like, what are you doing in August? Like, I'm shooting Warren Road, this and that, or like whenever the month was. And he's like, dude, like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll drive down from Brampton. I don't give a shit. Like, again, just super good initiative and like work ethic and stuff. So I got to work closely with him and that. And then we ended up shooting a bunch of different jobs together because I like hired him on as a second shooter. And I was like, hey, like these two guys are like the guys that I want to work with. And I know they say don't work with your friends, based on like money and this and that, but I feel like our relationships and communication skills have just been like really apparent, and they've made everything go very smoothly. Obviously there's hiccups here and there. We're all human beings, but like it's worked out really well, man. So
all right, so that's the dream team. That's how it happened.
That's it, man.
Just Isaac's as usual. I only have positive memories in that space.
Same, man. It was such a good Twisted Teas.
Is that your go-to at Isaac's?
$4, man. $4 special Twisted Teas. How do you go wrong? I
got to be honest with you. I don't really remember what I used to. I feel like I used to drink whiskey sours back in the day there, but my teeth used to hurt. But
that's amazing.
Tequila shots and whiskey sours back when I was a youth.
Brock was such a good time. I have no regrets going there, so I was there for a year and a half. No regrets.
Yeah, shout out to Brock.
Yeah.
I miss Brock a little bit.
Yeah,
I miss like not living in real life.
Yes,
it was good.
Yes, that I agree with.
Being a student is like blissful. For anyone who's a student that's watching this and I'm sorry, if you think your life's hard, it's not.
I'm so glad you said it. I didn't want to sound like the asshole.
It's not. It's being a student's a fantastic time, and I would enjoy it. If someone told me right now, hey, Chris, you can go back to school and do your MBA. If I had the money, I would. If I let's say I had like $10 million airdropped in my bank account, like sure, I'll go do my MBA because it'd be like a vacation.
Literally.
Like, compared to my life now, it'd be a fucking joke.
100%.
Like it'd be the greatest time ever. I just would party and do papers and bullshit about business ideas. Like it'd be awesome. Like, yeah, no.
100%. And then you can rationalize putting everything else on hold because you're like, I'm studying.
I'm studying. I'm developing. Yeah, exactly. Like, no, exactly. Yeah. I'm just finding myself.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Yeah, dude, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I'm like, fuck, like I kind of miss being a student as much as I was like, super gung-ho on dropping out. I'm like, man, that like first year and a half was like really
you had an excuse to be broke. You had an excuse to drink like on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you have all these excuses and like the whole world gives you a pass. They're like, oh, you're in university.
Oh yeah, you live it up. Like,
have fun. You're supposed to. Yeah, this is what you're supposed to do when you're that age, right?
100%, dude.
It's like, it's not that serious. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely don't bring a flask to, your 7 to 10 p.m. stats class on a Thursday night because it's Isaac's night. I definitely didn't do that. Are you kidding me?
I remember showing up on St. Patty's Day. I had a marketing case study class in like third year. And
Oh no.
yeah, so like the whole class was conversation based. Like I think 50% of your mark was based on just
How
communication.
much you like are involved with it and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I love the course. It was great. Like, so it was just business cases. You read the case, you prepare notes, and you pretty much just have a conversation about what you think the business should do in this given problem, right? I showed up sideways. Like I couldn't even see the prof. And I remember one of my friends, I won't say her last name, but her name was Cass. And it was me, my friend Nathan, and Cass. We were sitting there in the back, and she said something like, we were talking about this business moving from like brick and mortar to like mobile locations. And she literally said, we were so bummed. She was like, well, like mobile locations have wheels and can go places. I'll never forget. And I was like, Jesus, like this is where we're at right now. And our prof was like, okay, yeah, all right. You guys are done. Yeah. Okay, great. It was brutal. I think Nathan almost like fell asleep. Like it was just a mess. So
that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, university was a great time. It has nothing to do with this podcast, but it was.
No, it's great. Can I tell the
absolutely? I'd love story? Okay. Absolutely.
All right. I just want to preface this by telling everybody that I did not drive during any of this. I was very responsible for the most part, so I didn't drive. However, one of my favorite videos I ever shot, which was Steel Blade 2017. I don't remember shooting the last half of the game. Dude. So like they had the what's it called? The tailgate at the beginning in the parking. I don't know if you ever went to a Steel Blade or not.
No, I didn't.
No? Okay, yeah, so it's at the Meridian Center, and like they basically close off the one side of the parking lot, and there's all these vendors, and they had like the Brock branded beers and stuff. So athletic department. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I got the video done. Okay, that's what matters. But anyway, so I show up, and like I knew quite a bit of people at Brock, so you know anyone working there was like, oh, Reece, video guy, you know, he's come over here, shoot us.
You're the man.
We'll give you a beer kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
for sure. So, you know, tailgate ends and like I'm counting 1, 2, 3. I'm like, holy shit. Like I had a lot of beers, but I was just like, I'm just going, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, sweet. Like still like shooting. And like, that's the most fun I can ever have is drinking and shooting. That's terrible, but like it's just so much fun because then the creative juices start going and I'm like having fun. I'm talking to people. Like those events, man, best times of my life. Anyway, so I walk into the arena and all of a sudden it's starting to hit me and I'm like, holy crap, man. Like I'm like buzzing, but I'm like feeling good. And then of course you see more people. Hey dude, have another drink here and there. You know, third period comes around, just trying to follow the puck and shit. Like, yeah, but then
totally got
yeah, but then man, I go back and look at this footage and I'm editing it. I'm like, holy shit, I did a really good job. Like that's like to this day, it's one of my favorite sports videos I've ever shot.
Man, you were probably super loose. Your hands were probably like a gimbal. It was just like buttery. You know what I mean? All the movement was buttery.
Like
stabilizer. It was perfect. Yeah, you wouldn't have no tension. It was just like moving.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Shooting the puck though with a 7200. Hard.
Yeah, no, difficult. It sounds very hard.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so, but yeah, man, it was good. Luckily, I had Adrian Dudziak there with me, one of my good buddies. He was shooting, so he helped a lot. But yeah, it was a fun time.
Okay, Bomb Squad. Let's round it out. We got like, let's call it 20 minutes left, 15, 20.
Yeah.
And let's just do some rapid fire, like 5-minute questions here. So,
okay.
Number one, for the young people watching.
And here we go.
What do you think about entrepreneurship and personal relationships with like intimate relationships, girlfriend, boyfriend stuff? Do you like give me your hot take on beneficial, negative, yay or nay? I don't even know. Just give me your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I have dated people during this entrepreneurial journey, and I think they keep you very grounded. I think they're a very good support system if you're in the right ones. However, if you're in the wrong ones, they can definitely distract you, you know, and I feel like having your emotions in check and having good communication, it can really, like, if those aren't good, it can really seep into your business and your vision. Sometimes that happened to me and it was just not good. You know, you're showing up at shoots or whatever, just not in the right mindset because you're dealing with personal stuff. I mean, I guess that's like anything though, right?
Yeah.
But
no, I agree with you. Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. I think like communication is basically just
the key,
the biggest thing.
Yeah.
To anything. It doesn't have to do with your business. It just has to do with life. So as long as you're communicating and you're very forward and being like, this is my vision. This is one of my things that I'm really working on. It's not going to be the same hours as normal people, and you're okay with that. I think it'll be all right.
Beautiful.
How about you?
I don't think I'd add anything to that. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, I think for a long time I had a limiting belief that like if I was like even emotionally invested in anyone, I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't be working hard enough. And like, you know, I had this
Me
little
too. I
that
agree
would
with
distract me, right?
Yep.
But I think you're right. Like if you meet, definitely if you're with the wrong person, it'll be detrimental to whatever you're doing. But I think if you're with the right person, then it's beneficial because it's someone who's going to support you and like want to see you succeed.
Absolutely.
Equally. So
absolutely, man. They definitely have to buy into the vision too. And like, I don't know about you, but that fires me up knowing that my significant other would be bought into my vision too. Like that, just my energy.
Yeah. Just like a support system, right? Someone who like, they should be definitely working on their own things and have their own goals.
Course. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's someone who's like, just wants to see you succeed. Right. And it's like, they're there for you for the wins and for the losses too, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, number 2. Hot take. If you were gonna start any business in COVID-19 from scratch tomorrow, what would you do?
I have no idea, man.
Hot take tomorrow. It's okay. It can be half baked.
Man, if I'm like honest with you, I'd keep doing this.
Yeah. Okay, you can't do this. Fun one. You can't do media.
Okay, can't do media.
You gotta like pay your rent. You can't touch a camera. It's illegal for you to touch a camera ever again.
Okay, got it. I would start doing my education on becoming a real estate agent.
Yeah, you'd become a realtor?
That's what I would do.
I think you're good with people. That makes sense, man.
Thanks, man. I try my best.
That's good.
I think that's what I would do only because it's one of the things that hasn't shut down and it's just growing.
Yeah, like, it seems to be booming right now. Yeah.
So, and like you said too, like just being able to talk to people, I feel like I'm all right with that sometimes. So, and I like being around people. That fires me up, and talking about houses, fun stuff.
That's it. There you go.
So how about yourself?
Okay, so if I couldn't do coffee, probably another consumer packaged good business. My buddy's starting a hot sauce business, so like I'd rock that.
Okay. You got to let me know about that.
I think there's a huge market. Here you go, $1 billion idea. People listening. I think there's a huge market for a direct consumer donut business. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell I'm talking about, but listen, imagine a donut subscription.
Hit me.
Okay, so seriously.
I'm already liking it.
Listen, you get an industrial unit, okay? Rent's cheap. If you're in the Niagara region watching this, rent's cheap. You get an industrial unit. You build out like a place to manufacture donuts, like fried donuts. You get some recipes. You might need a pastry chef. I'm not sure. You have a direct consumer 4-week subscription where it's called like Sunday Donuts. Every Sunday you get a dozen donuts delivered to your door. You pay a flat rate. You need a delivery truck. You need an industrial unit. You have no retail space, and it's D2C donuts on Sunday mornings. I'm telling you, that's a 7-figure business in the area, and you can do it because I don't have the time to. And I don't know how to make donuts. But I swear to God, like Beechwood, if you're listening,
yeah, that's fantastic. I love it.
I'm telling you, that's an easy revenue stream for you guys, and subscriptions are booming. People don't want to leave their house. I'm telling you. Beechwood Donuts.
That's the key right there. People don't want to fucking leave their house.
No.
Yeah.
No, exactly, man.
Amazon just through all this.
Yeah, Jeff's been killing it.
Jeff's not doing bad.
Shout out to Jeff. Yeah, Jeff's been doing all right. Jeff's been balling. Who else? Mark's been balling.
Elon's been balling.
Elon's
launching shit into space like no tomorrow.
Yeah, and he's been talking shit on Twitter.
I love it.
He's an exciting guy.
Yeah, he's just fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, he knows that. Elon. I'd like to party with Elon one day before I die.
God, yeah,
can you imagine?
Imagine trying to have a conversation with that guy. I would just feel so inferior.
I'd feel like an idiot. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah, man. You're like, dude, I have this donut business. He's like, I literally launched something into space yesterday.
Yeah, he's like, I could
launch my donut.
I could beam donuts to people. Yeah.
I could beam donuts. Scotty, get that donut.
Seriously, exactly, man.
That's amazing.
Okay. So that was the business hot take. We did the relationship one. Okay. Advice for anyone who is starting in your industry tomorrow.
In my industry tomorrow.
So kid, 20 years old, doesn't want to go to school. He's like, fuck this. What is he going to do? He's starting tomorrow. He's going to start a creative business with like 2 of his close buddies.
Okay. Like video photo or just like
video photo. Let's go with video photo.
All right. Okay. Biggest thing. Stop worrying about equipment.
Okay. People need to hear this. Keep going.
Stop worrying about equipment because all I hear is, what lenses do I get? This and that. Man, honestly, you don't have to use me as a role model, but like a lot of people started like this. Get like a decent camera and a 50mm lens.
50 mil. The thrifty 50, man.
Yeah, buddy. I know you know. Even, and you know what? Even if you can't do that, your phone.
Yeah.
Phone is mint.
Phones are insane now.
Dude, like you shoot 4K, like you put it in portrait mode, it does the depth of field for you. It's like, it's insane. It's insane. So like focus on the actual like understanding of why people watch things. You're never going to get it, but like if you can understand why people are watching certain things, like why are people watching TikToks? Why are people watching these certain videos? Why is this business doing well? How do they connect to their audience? Understand that as a creative, and you can shoot whatever the fuck you want on whatever you want. As long as you can understand like why people are watching things and how to connect to your audience, you're golden.
That's okay. I like that. That's awesome.
Connect to your audience.
I agree. Yeah, like storytelling. If you, because you can tell a great story with like a potato phone. You know what I mean? And now, like, use the iPhone. What are you on, the 12 or something?
Yeah.
The camera quality on that thing's insane.
Yeah.
Right. Like for a quick like point and shoot, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, man. But if your message is good and you're connecting to your audience, like Steve Jobs, he said, storytellers are the most powerful people.
Buddy, that's it.
Because you can connect.
That's it.
That's it, dude. Just
people connect to a good story,
yeah,
right? Well, because think about it, the written word's been rolling, and that's not like high tech, and people still read books. It's not like people don't read books anymore.
Exactly.
And that's just text. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, man.
Okay, so if they're gonna start tomorrow, focus on
connecting with your audience,
telling great stories.
Yeah, that's what I would say, man. How about you? What would you say
for coffee?
If someone wants to start in your industry,
don't. No. Yeah. Honestly, it's a tough industry. Like, so listen, if you had to start a coffee business tomorrow, what would I say? I'd go direct to consumer. Don't worry about retail. Focus on, you got to go either two ways. I think in the market, you either got to go super high end. You got to go top of the funnel, like top end, like go for, super interesting micro lots and really interesting roasts that way, or go like cheap and go in that direction. I think coffee right now is being maybe slightly over romanticized in the industry as a whole, like especially specialty. We're kind of going into the weeds, which is fun for some people, but I think there's a growing opportunity for something that's higher quality than like Folgers and Maxwell House, but has the simplicity of kind of brewing it and things like that, that those coffees provide.
Gotcha.
So I think there's kind of a niche in the middle that people should look at. If I was jumping into it tomorrow, I'd be interested in finding kind of that space. Because I feel like when you keep going up, then it becomes, there's so many small roasters kind of trying to do the same thing, fighting over the same type of customer.
Right.
And you're just limited on the upside, like as far as how much money you can make, how big you could make this thing. Okay, another question. Okay. Would you rather be overpaid or underrated?
Shit.
It's a rap line, but it's actually it's actually something that I ponder quite often, so lay it on me.
Dude, man. I'm like a sucker for being the underdog and people underestimating me. I love that feeling.
So you rather be,
but like
So in the,
no,
like,
I'm not. I haven't decided yet. I'm just describing like
feeling
about it. But like overpaid, like I don't know, because then what comes with the overpaid? Like you have a bad reputation, or is it just? Like,
I guess like we think about it as like an athlete. So there's definitely athletes that are underrated, where you're like, oh, this guy. I mean, we could make different references. I watch a lot of soccer, so I don't think they'll land. But this guy's underrated, or would you rather be an athlete that people think is overpaid? Not in athletics, but I mean just in general.
Yeah.
So
underrated.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just, I don't know, man. Like, I hate the thought of somebody being like, fuck that guy. Like, he's
overpaid.
He's like overpaid. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to earn that.
Yeah, no, I like
title.
that.
And then, like, but then it kind of goes against me being like, I don't give a shit what everyone else thinks.
That's literally where I'm at with it. See, I'm the other way.
I know. See, like, so, like, I'm right in the middle because I'm like, I don't really give a shit. But if I'm, like, overpaid, it better be because people are like, or, like, even just myself. Fuck what other people think. Like, I want to be able to, like, feel genuinely that, like, I deserve what people are paying me. So I guess like I guess going back on the question, like who's saying this shit?
Okay. I guess so. We're
getting deep with this one.
personally, I'd rather be overpaid.
Yeah.
Just because I assume that markets work themselves out. So if you think I'm overpaid, but someone's willing to pay me for it, then I'm not overpaid.
Yeah.
If someone's willing to pay for something, it's not overpaid, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay, yeah, I like that. All right, you win.
It's like, so like for example, like the whole like designer handbag industry is insane. I was looking up the pricing on. I had no idea how much a Chanel bag costs, and I was just looking into it today actually. It's like $5,000 for some of these bags.
What?
Easy.
A bag.
Man, a Birkin bag, I think is like in the hundreds of thousands. Like a Birkin bag. I don't, but people pay for it. So it's not overpriced.
You're right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
This. Yes, absolutely.
So if you, like, as someone who prides himself on being a marketer, if you can get someone to buy something, it's not overpriced. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's only overpriced when somebody who's saying that is like, I wouldn't pay for that, basically.
Like, man, if you could sell a 30-second video for like $10 million, it wouldn't be overpriced. You did it.
You just did it, yeah.
You just did it. And like, you'd probably bullshit yourself. You'd be like, this was the best thing I've ever done. But meanwhile, it could have been.
I can do it again.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How do I re-emulate?
100%. I remember one time I sold a website for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was not a super complex website to build. And I lowballed myself, but they wanted to pay more for it.
I was just going to say, man, the worst feelings when you email someone a quote, they're like, yeah, it's great. You're like, fuck. Yeah. I should have went higher.
No, I've learned that. I always shoot pretty high now.
Okay,
like if
nice.
I haven't done that kind of work in a long time, but yeah, I shoot super high and then let them negotiate down and then we'll rock and roll from there.
Yeah, totally. But you know what though? I also feel like too, when you have this much experience with stuff like this, you start to account for all the things that go wrong and all the contingencies, at least for like me as well. So there's a lot of revision time. Yeah. You know, sometimes the first go at it isn't exactly what they want. You know, they want all these changes and then they want another round of changes and they want another round of changes, but people don't realize that, right? So like, oh yeah, I'm going to edit this in like 10 hours, but it ends up being 30. And then it's like, now you're getting paid $3 an hour.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like, I know what you mean. I get you.
All right, man. So closing question. And you can go long on this if you want, but if you could, well, okay, actually, let's go with what's next, man. Because Jeremy was older than me, so I was able to ask him what advice he would have with his 25-year-old self, and I'm gonna be 25 in like a month. So, what's your plan going forward? What, like, personal, professional? What are you thinking about going into the next chapter?
Okay, that's a good question. And it's one that's very like forward in my mind right now because I've been thinking about it a lot. But kind of going back to what you said, like, you know, any advice for people starting in the industry, I want to touch on that topic and just kind of relate to that in a sense that I want to focus more on connecting to an audience. So being able to take my creative abilities and that ability to tell a story and be able to apply it to more than just like video maybe. So, you know, I don't want to just limit myself to doing videos, and I want to maybe explore some other options. So I just think what's next for Instillment, if you're saying with Instillment or just for myself, for Instillment, I think what's next is just continue to refine connecting with audiences and being able to focus on, you know, real estate and weddings and go in that industry, in those industries and like crush it in those ones. But for myself personally, I think it's just being able to trust my abilities, I guess you could say, because I don't know about you, but I know everyone struggles with like confidence sometimes. And for me, like, I've really been trying to tell myself, hey man, like, you're more than just a video guy. Yeah. And I ended up talking to one of my buddies, Vince, and he talked about how he coaches athletes through them leaving their sport. So, you know, like sometimes basketball players, let's just use basketball as an example. Basketball players will stop playing basketball and then they feel lost because they've identified themselves as I'm a basketball player instead of being like, you know, I'm Johnny who plays basketball. And so like,
what did he say about that? I'm super interested.
So basically he takes you through this exercise and he just says that you have to stop defining yourself by what you do, like define yourself by like who you are. And I know it sounds like really cliche, but when you actually start saying like, you know, for example, people used to ask me like, oh man, like, you know, like, what are you all about? And I'm like, oh, like I shoot videos and like this and that, instead of being like, I like to have fun and I'm funny and I'm engaging. And, you know, I think I'm a very like kind guy. I'm a very giving dude. Like I never say those things. Cause I'm always defining myself by like what I do instead of saying like, hey man, I like to have fun. Like I know you like to have fun too. Like let's go have fun together. Like it's like, oh hey man, I shoot videos and like you make coffee. Like let's go do that. Exactly, you know what I mean? And so like for me, I'm kind of just trying to take a step back and be like, hey, what best suits those traits? What best suits the traits of who I think I am and how to deploy those efficiently in a way that can help me survive, that helps me grow and helps me move on to the next thing, whatever it is. So
that's awesome, man. Well, that's That's it. We're gonna wrap it right there because
Awesome.
that was too perfect.
Thanks, man.
So man, yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man.
Dude,
I appreciate
thank you
it.
for having me on. Honestly, I really appreciate it, man. It's always great talking to you. You always have many perspectives that I enjoy looking at. So thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And until next time.
Until next time, brother.